to be able to see people you've not seen. Not just my mum, but lots of people.
The chief executive of Pfizer says it's likely people will need a third dose of the COVID vaccine within a year of getting the first two. Dr. Albert Bourla says an annual booster could be necessary, and it'll depend on variants of the virus. Body cam footage has been released of the moment police shot dead a 13-year-old boy in Chicago last month. It appears to show Adam Toledo, who is Latino, holding his hands up beforehand. An independent board is now investigating the shooting. A report has suggested a case of heart failure in a 21-year-old man could potentially be linked to his consumption of energy drinks. The British Medical Journal article says the university student drank 4 of them a day for 2 years before needing hospital treatment. His condition improved, but he's been left with mildly impaired heart function. In the city, the FTSE 100 reopened at 69.83 after closing up 43 points yesterday. The pound buys $1.37 and €1.15. And the weather, a mixture of cloud and sunny spells for most, feeling quite warm and light winds. Cloudier and breezier in the far northwest with some rain later. A high of 13 degrees. From Global's newsroom, I'm Simon Conway.
It's a dog, it's a cat.
It's a dog.
We are now going to witness the effect of eating a big tasty from McDonald's. It's back, big tasty, big silence. Served after 11 a.m. Participating restaurants only, available until the 4th of May. This is LVC from Global, the leading difficult to be specific than that. Well, good luck to you and all your colleagues who really are on the front line of this. Tim Mitchell, thank you, Vice President of the Royal College of Surgeons of England. You are quoted in quite a lot of the coverage of the story today. And behind these numbers, of course, is the true story of this, which is the pain in some instances, literally the pain, if it's a hip or a knee or a hernia or whatever, or the anguish, or the concern, or just the downright worry that every morning you get up and you hope you're going to have the letter arrive or the text or however you're going to be informed. Yes, you're good to go. We can give you your new hip. We can tackle your hernia. We can give you some form of treatment for your heart or whatever it might be, and it's not coming. And that, given everything else, and I know it is a contributory factor, COVID, but you've battled through COVID, you've possibly lost loved ones, you're worried about your job, and you can't get your health fixed. It really is the perfect storm, isn't it? Tell me your stories on that. And also a storm continuing to brew in the so-called lobbying scandal. Boris Johnson speaking in Dartmouth yesterday references a Mr. Boardman. That's Nigel Boardman, the hugely experienced lawyer who is to chair the Greensill lobbying inquiry. Prime Minister.
I want all ministers and civil servants to be making information that needs to be known to Mr. Boardman, and let's see what he has to say.
7:15 LBC News headlines now. Simon Conway.
Royal officials are making the final preparations for Prince Philip's funeral at Windsor Castle tomorrow. Some COVID restrictions in Scotland have been relaxed, allowing more people to socialise and travel outside their local area. The boss of Pfizer says it's likely people will need a third dose of the COVID vaccine within a year of getting the first two. The weather mostly fine and dry, a high of 13 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Joanne Webb. On the Underground, there are severe delays on the Circle Line and minor delays on the District and Hammersmith and City lines. And also on the Underground, Temple and Gooch Street stations are still closed. On the roads, one lane is closed on the M3 southbound between junctions 3 at Lightwater and junction 4 at Camberley, where a car's broken down. Delays of about 15 minutes on the A127 westbound between the Halfway House roundabout and the M25 junction, and it's very slow on the South Circular Road both ways in Forest Hill, and that's because of the roadworks.
This is LBC.
Now is the perfect time to get behind the wheel of a brand new Skoda with 0% APR representative across the range until the 30th of April in the Skoda Spring event. Driven by something different. Skoda. With Solutions Personal Contract Plan, minimum 10% deposit required, minimum term 18 months, maximum term 36 months, ordered by 30th of April and delivered by 31st of May 2021. Stock vehicles only, T's and C's apply. Excludes SE Technology, Octavia VRS, Superb IV, and Enyaq IV. Indemnities may be required. Skoda Financial Services.
Nick Ferrari now. 0345 6060 973 LBC.
As lockdown unlocks, it's time for business to bounce back. Page Tiger makes it simple to create digital documents. Awesome newsletters to bring back customers. Just brilliant briefing packs to prepare employees returning to the workplace.
Oh, fantastic standout digital decks to supercharge sales.
Bounce back now. Go to pagetiger.com.
Auto Express magazine are calling it 2021's coolest SUV. We call it the all-new Vauxhall Mocha. Its sleek design makes it impossible to ignore. But it's not just the coolest SUV, it's also one of the most advanced. Take the Pure Panel, a fully digital color display with a combined screen size of up to 22 inches that gives you all the information you need. That's style and substance. The all-new Vauxhall Mocha in electric, petrol and diesel. Search New Mocha. How you feel tomorrow starts with award-winning care at your local Nuffield Health Hospital with consultant-led treatment and unlimited aftercare. Our COVID-19 secure hospitals specialise in hip and knee surgery, cataract removal, and men's and women's health. From diagnosis to recovery, how you feel tomorrow starts today. Search Nuffield Health Hospitals to book your consultation. Facilities available at selected locations. Visit nuffieldhealth.com/terms for details.
There's something big going on at Tesco. Big brands at small prices. Not just hundreds of Tesco products price matched with Aldi, but lots of big brands too. So you can do a big shop and save yourself a trip. Tesco. Every little helps. Prices checked and matched on hundreds of comparable products from GVLD stores and or online twice weekly. Prices most often found matched, excluding promotions. Selected stores, excluding Express and Northern Ireland. Products and availability vary by week and store. See tesco.com/Aldi price match. Things that can be golden. Coins,
medals, the eggs of legendary geese, and now, GiftGaff Golden Goodie Bags. Yep, automatically repeat a £15 golden goodie bag and you'll get an extra 10 gigabytes of data every time. That's more data for the same price. Go golden. Repeat your goodie bag and get more data. Search Golden Goodie Bags today. GiftGaff. Winner U-Switch Mobile of the year 2021. Terms apply. Safe payment card required.
Right, you know what to do. Same deal as last year. Let's go for a take.
The Mayor of London and London Assembly elections are taking place on
The 6th of May.
6th of May. Great. Right.
Let's try that again from the top.
Yeah, understood. The Mayor of London and London Assembly elections are taking place on the 6th of May. Find out how you can take part at londonelects.org.uk. Have your say.
Great, that'll do nicely.
Ferrari Breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
7:20. So the reality, these I just talk numbers, don't I? Only the Prime Minister, you're talking about the reality. Nearly, what is it, 1 in 10 of you, I think one newspaper says roughly now. Right? Don't you get 1 in 10 are facing a year on a hospital waiting list? The anguish, the pain, and just the worry. Justin, you'll be the first caller on that. Now I have to say, as we are the day before, we say farewell to the longest serving consort, to the longest serving Queen and the oldest Queen. It's surprising that not all the front pages go with those preparations, but because I know if I was still involved in newspapers I would have done that, but many do. The Daily Mail, the Lion brothers are part, and this is as it announced Princes William and Harry will not walk shoulder to shoulder. Their cousin Peter Phillips has been drafted in, because of course there are tensions about that. That's the front page as well of the Sun, brothers at arm's length, united in grief but so apart is the front page of the Metro. Queen's silent moment to say farewell as the Daily Express. The Queen will pause for a poignant moment of loving reflection tomorrow before the saddest ceremony of her life. They've allowed for this brief farewell as the Queen will join the procession at Windsor Castle. The Mirror goes with that line as well. One last look of love. And there's that picture of rehearsals yesterday of that specially fitted Land Rover, which you'd always said, of course, just put me in a Land Rover and drive me to Windsor. By the way, inside one of the papers it says the Duke of Edinburgh spent 16 years designing this Land Rover. What a load of cobblers. For the love of, and engineers have been working round the clock. For the love of God, a World War took 5.5 years. It's not going to take 16 years to design a Land Rover. I mean, I'm sure you went back and forth on it, but it's not like engineers. I mean, when did that mean it began? So since 2005, engineers have been sitting there. Oh, I've got the wheel nuts now. We're nearly there. What a load of nonsense. But it is a very poignant moment, and I sense we'll make a lot of, when I say we, because I don't know, I've told you this, but it's my privilege to be part of the coverage tomorrow at lunchtime. Starting at 1, I'll be in the studios here in Leicestershire. Only to be out at Windsor. I'll tell you a little bit more about that. There's a picture of Grieving Prince Charles. Your heart goes out to him. He really does look good. Well, I say, because I mean, I've experienced this as well. When you listen to this huge anguish, there is at the front page of the Telegraph that their Duke planned his funeral with military procession about that. I have no doubt. So what are the stories that don't go with this? Well, the Times, surprisingly, they say West condemns malign Russia, which I'm sure is important, but I say again, burying the Duke of Edinburgh tomorrow, guys. The Guardian, not even a mention, no, nothing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 or 7 different stories, or what are called teases, not a word about that. They go with urgent concerns over rapid tests. That is a story, we're looking at it later in the hour. And lastly, the Eye. I'm surprised they've not got any. Have they? Oh, yes, they've got a bit up top left of it. But their lead, part human, part monkey embryo, is created by scientists. This is termed a major breakthrough to help beat congenital diseases. But it, as it rightly says it raises ethical concerns. Should they be mixing humans and monkeys? We'll look at that and discuss that later in the show. More on the royal story in a moment with Phil Dampier, our royal commentator and broadcaster, good friend to the show. But I want to hear your stories about these waiting lists first. Justin in Hereford, this is your mum. Is that correct, Justin? Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Yes, sir. Right. She's that tough generation babe that my mum was made of. Made a grand that long.
She's coming on to 3 years having a cataract operation, and obviously the pandemic has been pushed further and further, and so right and such. I just like to, whilst I, the point I like to make is saying, whilst I don't belittle or by Professor Tim Spector. Over in the UK, 1 in 2,000 people are infected with COVID at the moment, and in Herefordshire Island, it's 1 in 9,000. So my point is, I'd just like to get a sense of proportion. And if you compare it against the HIV rates, they're about, I think they're about 1 in 150 to 1 in 200. I might be wrong on that.
Right.
But I think we need to get a sense of proportion as to where we are with this, because it's affecting people in...
So when you mean a sense of proportion, in as much as the other figures you just quoted, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I see. Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
1 in 2,000, 1 in 9,000.
Yeah.
I think we don't need to overreact and stop people, and stop society so that they can't get the treatment they need.
When was your mum's op? Was it ever first scheduled? And what is the impact of the delay for your mother?
Well, it was first scheduled about 3 years ago, and it did go wrong the first attempt. And unfortunately, there was the surgeon. There's another issue there.
Oh, right. Okay. So sorry. That's
over the past 18 months, it's just been delayed, and hasn't been able to go ahead during this out. She can't see now, so she can't move around the house, and she's, I think, suffering from early symptoms of dementia. So you compounded, you have your senses removed from you in a way.
Yes, of course, that's terribly tough. Justin, do let us know how you get on. Thank you. My best wishes, Sean. That, of course, brings in a new urgency. If your mother's suffering under other conditions, and I wish you well. Sadly, my mum is no longer. She was sort of that generation. My God, they're tough. But people from that time, as was, of course. But you remember is also from that generation to whom we will sit and say farewell. And there have been some tough decisions for the Queen to make. I read from one newspaper today that the number of mourners had to be cut, obviously, to 30 because those are the COVID-relevant restrictions, but down from some 800. Well, down to your royal commentator, broadcaster, author of Prince Philip, Wise Words and Golden Gaps, and good friend to the show, joins me now. Of all the various headlines that have been bouncing around over the last few days, or whatever it might be, Phil, which one has interested you the most, would you say? Good morning.